Routes winding through Italian landscapes, searching for charming villages, Italy as the backdrop, and us, with the freedom to explore it by car at our own pace. Ever dreamed of exploring Italian villages that seem straight out of a movie? Some are lesser known, others more touristy, but all have that captivating special mix. If so, you're in the right place. Today, we're starting a road trip through Italian villages, adding the tranquility of winter this time. Although, as you'll see, it's a trip you can enjoy in any season. Travel companions ready. Let's get started, and I'll share all the practical info you need for this route as we go, from how we rented the car, where we slept, how many days we spent, and what we ate with our style, the Europe-accompanied way. It was a trip we had thought about a lot. We chose to do it in January, a time we had never tried before to travel around Italy. We had visited it in other seasons, and it had always been a great experience, so this time we had that little fear of whether traveling in winter would work the same. Spoiler, it was great, and you'll see it in the footage. Our flight arrived in Rome, and we decided to pick up the car right then. The plan was to end the trip in the capital as well, and stay there for a few days. All of that, which is very important, we'll look at in more detail during the video and in the practical information at the end. And now, we said goodbye and hit the road.
So far, the service has been splendid. Well, we'll see you when we get back to tell you how this experience continued.
How did the experience continue? Our first destination was about 2 hours away, in the south of Tuscany, in the province of Grosseto, Pitigliano. From Fiumicino, we had about 50 kilometers to cover, just right to get into the trip and enjoy the ride. But before we arrived, the road gave us an unexpected sight that made us stop. The Saturnia Hot Springs. A place we already knew and had visited before. Finding them like this, just passing by in winter with steam rising in the landscape, was truly special. It wasn't a planned stop. Just one of those moments you experience when traveling by car, with time and no rush, and that make the journey as memorable as the destination. Saturnia Hot Springs are free to visit, with water flowing year-round at a constant temperature, making them enjoyable even in winter. Getting closer for a moment, feeling the steam and the contrast with the cold air, was enough to understand why this place continues to amaze. Every time you cross the path, we continued down the road as villages appeared one after another, the kind that make you think any of them could be a good excuse to stop and discover something new. On this route, through the central part of Italy, that's exactly what we're looking for. To add different villages, to explore places we didn't know yet. Some we discovered for the first time, and others we visited again. Some parts of Italy are always worth revisiting. And suddenly, without any warning, Pitigliano appeared before our eyes. And there, as often happens in these places, words started to become unnecessary, and we let the images do the talking. Pitigliano. You don't rush through it. It's one of those towns that reveals itself little by little as we walk through its streets and look around. Built on a huge volcanic tuff rock, the town seems to rise directly from the stone, as if it had always been there. For centuries, that rock was both its main defense and its identity. Its origins go back to Etruscan times, long before Italy was Italy, and even today, that history can be felt in the shape of the village, in its narrow passages, in the slopes, and in how everything adapts to the terrain. Walking through Pitigliano feels like traversing layers of history, with each corner perfectly situated on the rock, engaging in a dialogue with the landscape instead of dominating it. From above, the contrast is evident. The stone, the houses, and the greenery surrounding the town create a very distinctive image of this area in central Italy. In winter, everything feels quieter and more authentic, as if Pitigliano reveals its true self. Maybe that's why these kinds of towns are best enjoyed by wandering aimlessly, letting the streets themselves guide your path. Before entering Pitigliano's historic center, we parked in a designated area at the town's entrance. Here, parking is paid through a parking meter, which is quite common in many towns in Italy, and it's a convenient option for then exploring everything on foot. Parking meter prices vary by town and area, but they're typically affordable and worth paying to avoid issues and enjoy worry-free. This is also a good time to remember something important if you're traveling by car in Italy. The Zona A Traffico Limitato, the limited traffic zones. In many historic centers, you can't drive freely, and entering without authorization can mean a fine. In our case, whenever we had doubts, especially when approaching larger towns or cities, we communicated with Claudio through WhatsApp to ask him for advice on how to enter or where it's best to park. Having a local guide throughout your trip makes it much more peaceful. We honestly didn't want to get back on the road, as Pitigliano had felt magical to us, one of those places that captivate you and make you wonder if maybe it would have been better to stay there a little longer. At one point, I considered staying, But for logistical reasons, we decided to continue to the next town. We were traveling with our parents this time. There were 5 of us, and we had a lot of suitcases. So looking for convenience and peace of mind, we chose a place to stay with parking and a restaurant to make everything easier for us. Even so, as we left Pitigliano behind, that thought kept going around in my head. Did I make a mistake? This was the place. But as soon as we arrived at our last destination of the day, we realized that the decision had been the right one. It was already getting dark. January only has a few daylight hours. When we arrived at the magical Sorano, a very special night awaited us inside an ancient fortress. The time made us leave the tour of Sorano for the next morning. Even so, we were able to drive up to the accommodation to unload our luggage and settle in calmly. The town's free parking lot was just a few steps away, so once we parked, getting around on foot without our suitcases was easy. The Hotel de la Forteza is located inside an ancient medieval fortress, fully integrated into the rock on which Sorano stands. Sleeping here is exactly that. You're surrounded by stone walls, historic halls, and views that show this place was built centuries ago to protect and control the land. Today, that history is transformed into a peaceful and very special experience, where the silence of the night and the surroundings make your stay feel unique. We had dinner there, in the intimacy of its dining room. The menu offers traditional Tuscan dishes, and we chose some of them to end the day in the best way. As usual, we're displaying the bill for the 5 of us. The double room with breakfast cost us about €100 per night. That night, we did a live Instagram stream. The night, the lights, and the surroundings gave our stay an air of magic and mystery, and we wanted to share it. Now it was time to rest. Sorano was waiting for us the next day. We woke up in Sorano, and a good breakfast was waiting for us. Now we were ready to start the walk through the town, a journey that began by descending from the hotel, little by little, letting ourselves be carried away by its stone streets. Sorano is located in the south of Tuscany, very close to the border with the region of Alassio, in an area known as the Maremma. Like Pitigliano, the town is built on volcanic tuff, giving it a unique look, almost as if sculpted into the mountain. Its origins date back to Etruscan times, although it was during the Middle Ages that Sorano acquired much of its current structure, becoming a strategic defense point. The fortress that dominates the town and still defines its silhouette today was key to controlling the territory for centuries. Walking through Sorano means moving among passageways, staircases, arches, and alleys that seem to have hardly changed over time. A more discreet town, less visited than others in Tuscany, but with a strong identity and a special charm. Maybe that's why walking through it early in the morning, with few people around in the middle of winter, felt even more authentic. Sorano is part of an area with a lot of history, where the so-called V Cave are still preserved today. Ancient Etruscan roads carved directly into the rock. In our case, we didn't walk through them, but very close to here is Savannah, a small village that is usually a good starting point to explore them. What we did do was stop at several of the natural viewpoints that Sorano offers. It's those unhurried moments, just observing, that end up becoming some of the most beautiful memories of the trip. As we walked through the town square, we noticed a large bonfire ready to be lit, but not yet burning. It was the end of December, and we couldn't help but wonder if it was meant for some kind of New Year's celebration. On this trip, it happened to us quite often. We felt reluctant to leave places, with that feeling of, I'll come back, and that just one night isn't enough. That's what we told Elena, our hostess. When it was time to settle in, we left in a hurry, with the promise, which we hope to keep soon, to come back and stay longer. The route was once again taking us through beautiful landscapes, and the decision to rent the car from Trajectus had turned out to be an excellent choice. There were 5 of us, with luggage, and having comfort, space, and a personal touch made a big difference. We travelers truly value that support, especially when we're far from home. As always, we'll end the video with all the practical information about what we mention. Now, about 80 kilometers separated us from our next destination. Grosseto would be the next stop, although not our final destination, since we would spend a couple of nights at an Agriturismo. It was an experience we hadn't tried before, and we felt it fit perfectly with the calm spirit of this trip. Grosseto is a city, not a town, but since it's in the same province, we decided visiting its capital was a good idea. Grosseto, in the heart of Tuscan Maremma, has ties to both the Etruscan era and the Middle Ages. Today, it still has a pleasant historic center that's great for walking. Its medieval walls, which still surround much of the old town, clearly reflect that defensive past and organize the city around its historic core. Although we didn't have much time, since we still had several kilometers to go to our destination, walking through the center was a very nice and peaceful experience, without large crowds, which is also something to appreciate when traveling. In winter, a stop to have something warm was almost mandatory, just as the rain was starting to threaten to appear. More. After a short break, we left the city and finally headed to our accommodation. After several kilometers, we finally reached our Agriturismo, an experience we were eager to try on this trip. Located in the province of Prato, in the Carmignano area, Fattoria di Capesana was the one we chose. However, in this case, we felt that the place didn't quite fit what we were looking for during those days, and we believe that here it does. The season played a big role. With terraces and spaces designed to be enjoyed outdoors, probably in the summer. It must be a wonderful experience, but this time it wasn't the best choice for us. The restaurant was closed that night, which also made us change our plans. They recommended some places a few kilometers away, and with that change, we found a very cozy place for the dinner we were looking forward to. Da Delfina in Artimino. Typical Tuscan cuisine, good choices, and a meal that made the night end in a very lovely way. As always, we're showing you the bill on screen, so you have a reference for the cost of a dinner like this. Time to rest now. Tomorrow, special places await us. We woke up, and after a breakfast that was already included in the price of the room, which was about 60 euros, we decided to spend the day visiting several nearby towns. Pistoia was our first stop, just 25 kilometers away. When we arrived, as happens in most towns and cities in Italy, it's important to park before entering the limited traffic zone, the well-known Zona A, Traffico Limitato. Here, it's a good idea to pay attention to something very useful, the color of the lines that mark the parking spaces. White lines usually indicate free parking, blue ones are for paid parking, and yellow ones are reserved exclusively for residents or specific services. We were finally beginning our walk through Pistoia. That very day, we found it with a neighborhood fair in its main square, and the atmosphere of conversations in Italian, loud and unhurried, accompanied us during the walk. Upon entering the churches, nativity scenes dominated, reminding us it was still the Christmas season. Pistoia is located in the north of Tuscany, between Florence and Lucca, in a strategic position that historically made it an important crossroads and trading center. Founded by the Romans, the city saw its peak growth in the Middle Ages, and still retains much of its medieval urban layout and architecture. The historic center is small and great for walking. Piazza del Duomo unites major buildings, like the Cathedral of San Zeno, Baptistery of San Giovanni in Corte, and Palazzo dei Vescovi, forming one of the region's most notable medieval complexes. Walking through its streets, you'll also find historic palaces, small squares, and corners that reveal a lively, authentic city, less visited than others in Tuscany, but full of character. Of Roman origin, part of its urban layout and architecture reflect this as you walk through the city. When we choose to travel in countries like Italy, with so many small towns and rural landscapes, we often think that driving is the ideal way to explore them. We try to avoid highways whenever possible, We prefer secondary roads, which are slower, but much more immersive and charming. A good idea, if you like to travel this way, is to set your global positioning system to avoid highways on these routes. Thank you for the stretches of highway that we do use. It's important to know how the toll system works in Italy. When you enter, you take a ticket at the booth, and when you exit the highway, you insert that same ticket so the amount to pay can be calculated. An important tip is to pay attention to the booths and avoid the ones marked for those who already have an electronic payment device. We were only about 20 kilometers away from Montecatini Terme, a place we had on our itinerary, although those plans, which sometimes change along the way, ended up leading us to discover a charming spot. Montecatini Terme is a city located in the north of Tuscany, in the province of Pistoia, mainly known for its thermal spas, many of which have centuries of history and tradition. For years, it was a popular rest and wellness spot, attracting travelers from across Europe seeking its water's benefits. One of the most iconic thermal complexes is Tituccio, which we decided to visit. A building from the early 20th century, decorated in Liberty style, with large columns, galleries, and details that make you feel as if you were stepping into an old movie. Beyond the thermal baths, the place radiates old-world elegance, making a walk through its spaces feel like traveling through time. Although Montecatini Terme brought us here, seeing buildings on the hilltop made us curious. Following the signs to Montecatini Alto, we arrived at a new discovery, small, intimate, and with that special charm that places you don't look for too much tend to have. Montecatini Alto is the oldest part of the area, located on top of a hill, from where you get open views over the valley. Before the city became known for its thermal baths, life in the area began here. Its stone streets invite you to wander, stroll without direction, and enjoy a slower pace. So different from the busy thermal city below. Thank you. It's one of those places that doesn't always appear as a main attraction on a route, but ends up becoming one of the most beautiful memories of the trip. For this day, we had one last village left. Just over 20 kilometers separated us from it, which saw the birth of one of the greatest geniuses in history, an artist, inventor, and thinker who needs little introduction, Leonardo da Vinci. So Vinci was waiting for us after a pleasant route, one of those where the landscapes pass by through the windshield, and where the journey itself also becomes part of the destination. We arrived in Vinci. This small town is located in the north of Tuscany, among hills and vineyards, in an area deeply connected to the life and work of Leonardo. He was born here in 1452, and walking through its streets gives you the constant feeling of walking through a place full of history. We visit the church where his baptismal font is preserved, and then we simply let ourselves get lost in the town, walking without hurry. From its viewpoints, the views of the Tuscan landscape are stunning. If you don't have Vinci on your itinerary, I encourage you to add it. Of course, we always speak from our personal preferences, but we believe it's one of those places that surprises you and leaves a mark. Lunchtime had long passed, so we made a stop to have something simple to eat, and as we chatted, we went over all the beautiful and different things the day had given us. As the day ended, we headed back to our accommodation. And this is where our plans aren't necessarily the ones we would recommend to you. And we find ourselves in the comforting purpose. Being just about 30 kilometers from Florence, the ideal thing would be to dedicate several days to this city, which is a must-see on any trip to Italy. Florence deserves at least 3 nights to explore it calmly, enjoy its art, its neighborhoods, its history, and its unique atmosphere. In our case, we wouldn't visit it this time, since just a few months ago, we had spent several days there. Anyway, to help you out, we have a full video dedicated exclusively to Florence here on the channel, and I'll leave it for you in the description later. But there was an exception. Since it was a very special night, New Year's Eve, December 31st, we wanted to experience it in a special way, in Florence. We had dinner at Lungarno 23, an exceptional spot near the Ponte Vecchio. That allowed us, when midnight arrived, to go out into the street and enjoy the fireworks that many people set off to say goodbye to the year. Before continuing the trip, are you enjoying the video or is it helpful to you? We encourage you to subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and share this with friends who would like to do or see this journey. Amid lights, reflections on the river, and the city's always romantic atmosphere, we ended the year in a magical setting. After breakfast, new destinations and a new place to stay awaited us. The journey was still our main source of enjoyment, and as always, the map app was with us. We were entering Tuscany's famous Chianti region. Gentle hills, endless vineyards, centuries-old olive trees, and villages that look like they came out of a postcard accompanied every kilometer we traveled along the road. Chianti is world-renowned for its wine, of course, but the region has much more to offer. Small medieval villages, castles perched on hills, roads lined with cypress trees, and landscapes that change with the light of day. This area has long been strategic between Florence and Siena, and still feels like a passage between major cities, with a calm and authentic lifestyle. Our first stop in Chianti was in Montefiorale, a small medieval village that seemed frozen in time. Walking through its empty streets, with only our footsteps echoing, felt especially tranquil. A simple yet beautiful Christmas decoration accompanied our walk, giving the place an intimate, authentic, almost secret atmosphere. From there, we continued on to Castellina in Chianti, a larger but equally charming village. Castellina in Chianti stands out for its medieval tower, cobblestone streets, small squares, and old stone houses that evoke stories from centuries past. Strolling the streets, we saw local shops, cafes, and artisan workshops, showcasing rural Tuscany's authentic lifestyle. Walking towards the viewpoints, the landscape opens up to rolling hills covered with vineyards, olive groves, and cypress trees dotted with warm-colored houses that seem suspended in time. Every corner invites you to pause, breathe, and savor Tuscany's calm, even in winter when tourists are few and the village feels exclusively yours. Our next stop was Rocca del Emicie, a winery we had planned to visit. Although it was closed that day, the beautiful surroundings alone showcased the region's majesty. Vineyards stretching over gentle hills, roads lined with cypress trees, and a landscape that perfectly captures the essence of Chianti. These places let us fully experience Tuscany. History, tradition, nature, and the unique calm found off the beaten path. 70 kilometers now separated us from our next destination, Arezzo. Arezzo welcomed us for an overnight stay, and, during that season, was transformed into the city of Christmas. Lights, decorations, and a festive atmosphere filled its streets, giving it a special vibe. When we arrived, a gentle rain accompanied us, so that first walk was brief, almost like a first introduction to the city. The next morning, with the weather already improved, We went out for a walk again, this time more calmly. Before heading downtown, as is common in larger cities, we had some doubts about the access and the limited traffic zones, so we contacted Claudio again, who helped us find our way and avoid any issues. We stayed at Il Portici, a hotel located on the 4th floor of a building just a few steps from the historic center. The price of the double room, with breakfast included, was about €50 per room. We started walking through the streets of Arezzo, a city that many will recognize from the memorable movie Life is Beautiful. Although we visited it years ago, this time it looked very different, decorated for Christmas. Arezzo, in eastern Tuscany, is the capital of its namesake province. Its history goes back to Etruscan and Roman times, and in the Middle Ages, it was a major cultural and artistic center. Piazza Grande is a must-see and one of Italy's most beautiful medieval squares. The Basilica of San Francesco, with the famous frescoes by Piero della Francesca. The Cathedral of San Donato and its cobblestone streets, full of life. Arezzo takes on a special charm at Christmas. Markets, lights, and events turn the city into a very pleasant place to explore, always maintaining its authentic and peaceful essence. After spending a few hours in the morning in Arezzo, we set off for Cortona, the city that many will recognize from the movie Under the Tuscan Sun. We were about 30 kilometers away from it. Once again, the road enchanted us. Gentle hills, open fields, and roads that invite you to enjoy the journey make the car much more than just a means of transportation in this part of Italy. It becomes part of the trip. In Cortona, as in most tourist towns, parking is always easy when we arrive. Usually, being patient, watching for people leaving, and waiting a few minutes is key to finding a spot before entering the historic center. Cortona encourages you to slow down, sit in a square, and observe. If you want to get to know it in depth, we have a full video on the channel dedicated to a tour through Tuscany, where we explore it in more detail, and I'll also leave it for you in the description. This time, we visited to experience its charm again and add more landscapes and sensations to our winter journey in Italy. The route now takes us to a very endearing village for me. We were entering the Val d'Orcia, one of the most recognizable areas of Tuscany, easily identified by its gentle hills, winding roads, and the characteristic pyramid-shaped pines. We returned to Pitigliano, but this time experienced it differently, visiting the Christmas market in the Piazza Grande. Typical foods, hot wine, and Christmas decorations accompanied our walk through the town, giving it a special and very cozy atmosphere. Time was passing quickly, so we decided to have a late lunch at Trattoria di Cagnano. A hot soup comforted us and helped us continue to our next accommodation. Montepulciano, in southern Tuscany, between Val d'Orcia and Val di Chiana, is a key town in the region. Etruscan in origin, it grew significantly in the Middle Ages and Renaissance. Its hilltop location gave it historical strategic importance. Today, Montepulciano is famous for its Vino Nobile, its Renaissance architecture, and its steep streets filled with shops, wine bars, and small local businesses. Strolling through town takes you up and down past historic palaces, spacious squares, and inviting corners where you'll want to linger. It was almost sunset when we arrived at our next accommodation, another Agriturismo, where we would stay for 2 nights. That would free up the next day to explore nearby towns without a strict plan. This time was a total success. The Agriturismo San Ambrosio, located between Quanda and near Pienza, is a peaceful place meant to be enjoyed amid beautiful scenery and quiet. We paid about $200 per night for the double room with breakfast. That night, we had dinner at the Agriturismo's restaurant and had a great experience. As always, we are showing you the bill on screen, so you have a reference, remembering that there were 5 of us. It was cloudy in the morning, but nothing stopped our urge to explore. Weather is unpredictable, so on this trip, we learned to adapt and keep moving. Pienza, very close to where we were staying, just 7 kilometers away, was the first city we chose to visit that day. Even though we'd been there before, it's still one of the area's most touristy towns. Early in the morning, it welcomed us with a different vibe. People walking, shops opening their doors, and windows full of souvenirs brought its streets to life. Thank you, Pienza. It is located in the heart of Val d'Orcia, in the south of Tuscany, and is known as the ideal Renaissance city. It was transformed in the 15th century by Pope Pius II, who wanted to turn his hometown into an example of Renaissance urban planning. Its orderly layout, spacious squares, and open views over the Val d'Orcia landscape make walking through Pienza a very pleasant experience. Among its main highlights are Piazza Pius, second the Cathedral of Santa Maria Assunta, and the Piccolomini Palace, and the viewpoints that open up toward the valley, from where the landscape seems endless. We continued slowly toward Montechiello, separated by about 10 kilometers. When we arrived, the town was almost empty, and that silence made it even more special. In the main square, we found a bonfire that had already been put out, remnants of what was surely a tradition for the festive season. That simple everyday detail gave us the feeling of arriving at a vivid, real place, far from the crowds. We strolled its streets calmly, savoring the tranquility that makes trips like this a true gift. Montechiello is one of those towns that doesn't need much to make you fall in love. A few streets, open Valdorcia views, and an inviting atmosphere that makes you want to linger, even in silence. "15 more kilometers, and we arrived at San Quirico d'Orsia, a town that many will recognize for being the setting of some scenes from La Dolce Casa or La Dolce Villa. San Quirico d'Orsia is in the heart of Valdorcia, maintaining a strong local character amid nature and open landscapes. Despite being a very visited town, it maintains a peaceful and authentic atmosphere. Exploring San Quirico means leisurely wandering stone streets, small squares, and inviting corners. One of its main attractions is the Orte Leonini Gardens, a perfectly maintained Renaissance garden that offers a green, orderly, and very pleasant space for a walk. The garden, with its geometric paths, is an ideal place to take a break and enjoy the surroundings. At lunchtime, we decided to stay in the village and chose a wine bar that was really worth it. Good wine, simple and tasty food, and a cozy atmosphere that completed the visit. As we were leaving, they were also stoking the typical bonfire we saw in the other villages. Music. San Quirico d'Orcia was one of those stops that combined scenery, history, and local life very well, and that you especially enjoy when you travel through these areas without rushing. There wasn't enough time, so we returned to our accommodation. That night, we changed our plans and decided not to have dinner at the accommodation. We returned to Pienza and picked a restaurant in the old town. The dinner was very good. We're showing you the name of the place and the bill on the screen as a reference. A lovely way to end a day filled with landscapes, villages, and peaceful moments. It was raining at dawn, and it was time to head to our last city of the trip. A city we didn't know and were really excited to discover. We were 80 kilometers from Orvieto. Orvieto, in Umbria, near the Tuscany border, has been inhabited since Etruscan times. Its strategic location on this natural volcanic rock promontory made it a defensive city of great historical importance for centuries. Before entering the historic center, you need to leave your car in one of the designated parking lots and access the city either by walking or by using the transportation systems that connect the lower part with the upper city. Orvieto. In our case, since we stayed at a hotel located right on Piazza del Duomo, we were able to access it by car after providing the hotel with our license plate information in advance. To avoid Zona a Traffico Limitato fines, we started exploring Orvieto. It's called Rain. A lunch in a simple place, but with the warmth so characteristic of Italians, made the day truly magical. One of the must-sees in Orvieto is its cathedral, the Duomo, a masterpiece of Italian Gothic, famous for its richly decorated facade and unique details. Even under the gray sky, its presence is imposing and moving, truly wonderful. I'll pause here to recommend, as I always say based on my own tastes, visiting Orvieto, even if it's just to see this imposing cathedral. It's truly beautiful. Two other must-sees in the city are the Well of St. Patrick, an impressive feat of 16th century engineering built to guarantee the water supply. The Well of St. Patrick.
The truth is, I don't know.
What you thought about it so far?
But it's really nice.
Interesting. I think it's a must-see. And the visit to the underground tunnels of Orvieto, a network of tunnels carved into the tuff over the centuries. Although both visits are worth it, the underground tunnels, in our opinion, are truly a must-see to understand the deep history of the city. The guided tours, in this case, are given in English or Italian. Exploring Orvieto means taking your time to find small squares, scenic viewpoints, and inviting corners to pause and observe. It was a city that surprised us and truly deserves more time than we gave it. We promise to return and explore it more thoroughly. We stayed at the Virgilio Hotel, with a privileged location in front of the Duomo. It was such a place that we almost went live on social media to share how the trip was going. We had dinner just a few steps from the hotel, and the choice was perfect. As always, I'll show you the bill on screen so you have a price reference. We woke up in Orvieto, and that day, we would already start heading back to Rome, about 40 kilometers to return the car. During our trip, we contacted Claudio again with a question about entering the Zona A Traffico Limitato area of our accommodation, and he once more provided reassurance and a clear answer.
Hello, Claudio. Good morning. How are you? It's Monica bothering you once again.
Good morning, Monica. I hope all is well and your trip is going smoothly. Well, look, let me tell you, as general information...
Before we finish, here's a very close recommendation that we visited on a previous trip, and if you're interested, we have a special video about it on the channel. Very close to Orvieto is Civita di Bagnoregio, in the province of Viterbo, the town that is disappearing due to the erosion of the tough mountain on which it sits. The views are stunning, and the place is truly magnificent. We were lucky enough to spend the night right inside Civita, and it's amazing. I'll leave the video for you in the description so you can watch it. It's just 20 kilometers from Orvieto.
Well, travel companions, here we are arriving in Rome to return the car. Honestly, everything is going well. We just filled up with diesel, and honestly, everything was great. Yes, it really was. It happened that you asked me for my license details on WhatsApp, international license, driver's license, who was going to drive. In 3 days, I received the contract ready to read in Spanish. Honestly, that had never happened to us before. If the rest of the experience is going to be like this is going to be fantastic, right?
That was exactly the idea, right? What are you saying? Thinking about an audience that comes from the other side of the ocean, an audience like us,
As Latinos,
mainly Latin Americans, who obviously for many of them it's their first time traveling. And well, they have a lot of doubts and a lot of uncertainty, and sometimes they don't know how to handle themselves. So what we did was exactly that, eliminate all the bureaucratic parts that confuse people and waste their time. We anticipated that, we sent it to them digitally so they could start reading the instructions on how to do it. How to get here to make it as little tedious and as easy as possible for the person arriving, because they've already had a long flight and everything. So all that part was digitized. So now what you do is sign the contract digitally. In a few seconds, a PDF copy is automatically sent to your email address, and that is legally valid to present to any police control. So with that, you won't have any problems. That's obviously designed with the needs of the newcomer in mind, trying to make life easier for them. Let's see if the next part is easy too.
the insurance in your case, the insurance.
It's to avoid reading all the insurance details, or when a price is shown, then extra costs are added. Here, it's all included. We've made an extra investment. Our vehicles are fully insured and it's already included in the price. What you see is what you pay.
Yes, well,
We have additional accessories if you need them, but the insurance is already covered.
yes, that also seemed different to me, having a cooler, having thermoses for people. Yes.
We all offer it.
If you want,
They are available. Another thing that seemed like a differentiator to us is the assistance. We try to use technology not so much to automate dealing with people, but to improve personalized communication.
An important fact is that in Europe, and especially in Italy, they require the international driving permit, so don't forget to get it before you travel. Each country has a different organization. If you're from Uruguay, comment below and I'll tell you where and how to get it. Here's a key tip. Don't travel without travel insurance. Besides being a requirement, any health issue in Europe can end up being very expensive. Review coverage closely and select what best suits your needs. We're leaving you 2 options that we usually use and for which we have a discount for you, so you can compare. The accommodations. You saw them throughout the journey, and we left you the prices they had at that time. You know that changes a lot, so always search and see if that fits the needs you want for your trip. We left the links for each one in the description and a special post on the blog, where you'll also find this complete itinerary to download, if you're interested. If you want to keep exploring, we recommend watching the full tour of Tuscany that we did in another season, visiting many must-see towns and cities. We'll leave it here for you.